They said it was just a tragic accident, nothing more. A fall, late at night, case closed. But one detective noticed something tiny, so small, most people would miss it. And once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it, because that accident wasn't an accident at all. When a well-respected member of a quiet community is found dead after what appears to be a simple household accident, police initially see no reason to dig deeper. There are no signs of forced entry, no obvious struggle, and nothing that immediately suggests foul play. But as one seasoned detective reviews the scene, a small detail catches his attention, something that doesn't quite match the official story. As the investigation unfolds, inconsistencies begin to surface. Timelines shift, statements change, and a seemingly straightforward case slowly transforms into something far more complex. Was it truly an unfortunate accident, or a carefully constructed illusion? Because sometimes the truth doesn't scream, it whispers, and only the right person is paying attention. The call came in just after 11:47 p.m. A woman's voice, shaken, breathless. "I think my husband fell. He's not moving." It sounded real convincing. The kind of call dispatch hears all the time. But something about it lingered. Paramedics arrived within minutes. The house sat quiet, tucked into a well-kept neighborhood. Lights on, front door slightly open. Nothing unusual, at least not at first glance. They found him at the bottom of the stairs, face down, one arm twisted beneath him. Unresponsive. His name was Thomas Grayson, 71 years old, retired engineer. No known enemies, no criminal history. The paramedics worked quickly, but it didn't take long. He was gone. Cause of death seemed obvious. Blunt force trauma, consistent with a fall. Open and shut, or so it seemed. His wife, Margaret Grayson, stood nearby, crying, hands trembling. But something felt controlled, not forced, just measured. "I heard a noise," she said, a loud thud. Her voice cracked at the right moments. Her timing was perfect, too perfect. But that wasn't enough. Not yet. Officer James Nolan took the initial report. Routine questions, routine answers. "What time did this happen?" "I think around 11:30. "What were you doing?" "I was upstairs, getting ready for bed." Everything lined up clean, simple. But something didn't add up. Detective Alan Pierce arrived the next morning, 30 years on the force. He had seen accidents, real ones, messy ones. This didn't feel like one. He stood at the top of the staircase, looked down, then back again. The fall distance, the angle, the position of the body. Something was off, but he couldn't prove it. Not yet. So he started small. Photographs, measurements, details. And that's when he saw it. A single mark on the wall, halfway down the staircase. It wasn't large, not dramatic, just a faint smear, but it didn't match the fall. Because if Thomas had slipped from the top, he wouldn't have made contact there, not like that. Pierce leaned closer, studied it, and in that moment, everything changed. Because that wasn't a fall mark. That was impact direct, intentional, and suddenly, this wasn't an accident. It was something else. But that wasn't the worst part. Because when Pierce revisited Margaret, her story started to shift. Just slightly. "I think I heard him call my name," she said this time. That was new, Pierce noticed immediately. "Earlier you said you only heard a thud." Margaret froze, just for a second, then smiled nervously. "I might be confused. It all happened so fast." That word again, confused. But Pierce didn't push. Not yet, because something didn't add up. The autopsy report came back 2 days later. Cause of death: head trauma, consistent with a fall. But there was something else. A secondary injury on the back of the skull. Older, not from the fall. Pierce stared at the report. Because now, there were 2 impacts. One before, one after. And that changed everything. The first twist had arrived. Thomas hadn't just fallen, he had been hit. Before he ever touched the stairs. Now the question was, by who? And the answer was getting closer. Pierce dug deeper into their lives. Financial records, medical history, neighbors, friends. Everything seemed normal until it didn't. A recent insurance policy. Value, $2.5 million beneficiary. Margaret. Now, there was motive. But something still didn't fit. Because money alone doesn't explain everything. Pierce returned to the house. This time, he looked closer. The staircase, the railing, the spacing. And then he noticed something else. The railing was loose, not broken. Loosened, deliberately. Second twist. Because now, this wasn't just a crime of opportunity. This was planned, carefully. Someone had prepared that fall, made it inevitable. Pierce confronted Margaret again. This railing didn't come loose on its own, he said. She stared at it. I never noticed, she replied. But her voice was quieter now, less certain. Because something didn't add up. The final piece came from an unexpected place. A neighbor's security camera. Not facing the house, but close enough. At 11:12 p.m., a figure appeared. Inside the home, moving past a window. 2 figures, not one. Pierce replayed it again, and again. Because that wasn't supposed to be possible. Margaret said they were alone, but they weren't. Final twist, there was someone else. During the final interrogation, Pierce placed the footage on the table. Margaret didn't speak, didn't move, just stared. Then, slowly, her composure broke. He wasn't supposed to die like that, she whispered. Silence. Who was with you? Pierce asked. A long pause. Then, my son. That changed everything. Because now, this wasn't just murder. It was conspiracy. And something deeper. Something buried. He hated him, she said. For years, the truth came out slowly, painfully. Arguments by a resentment. Control. Thomas wasn't the man everyone thought. And Margaret wasn't as helpless as she seemed. They planned it together. The loose railing. The staged fall. But something went wrong. The first blow was harder than expected. And the accident became real. Margaret Grayson and her son were both arrested, charged, convicted, and the house. It was sold, new owners, fresh paint. But some things don't disappear. Because the truth is, the most dangerous lies aren't the loud ones. They're the quiet ones, the ones that almost pass as accidents. Until one small detail changes everything.